morning and welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. This is Brock Shimano. Today is April 24th. The outside markets are generally supportive here this morning. We also see commodities and the grain complex up across the board. We had a couple pieces that came across the newswire. Oil World downgraded their soybean forecast to 42.5 million metric tons. That was a downgrade of 1.5 million metric tons, and that came on the heels of Ag Ministry last week lowering their estimates as well. So that is really going to help out the soybean complex this morning. On top of that, we had chatter yesterday that China was in the market buying old crop U.S. corn, and this morning we have FAST confirming that 480,000 metric tons were sold, but that is to unknown destinations. Now, we don't know if that is China, but 480,000 metric tons certainly makes you question that. You know, also across the news wires yesterday, we had crop progress come in. Brock, how do we stand? Are we on pace with the 5-year average or last year?
We're quite a bit of the ahead of the 5-year average for all the commodities, corn, soybeans, and spring wheat. Corn came in right where analysts were expecting, about 28% complete. Soybeans a little bit ahead of where the analysts were expecting, 6%. But spring wheat continues to be far ahead of where we should be at this time of year, 57% complete. But take a look at those winter wheat crop conditions, 63% good to excellent this year compared to 35% last year. We did slip 1% from last week, but that's not a big concern for the market at this time period. If you take a look at the last column on this table, you can see that is the date in which we achieved this point in the planting season or progress last year. Spring wheat, a full month ahead, corn about 10 days, and beans were about 2 weeks ahead. Let's take a closer look at what the corn progress looks like right now. You can see here on this chart, the red line is where we were last year, the blue line is the 5-year average, and the green line is where we're at currently. You can see we did pull back a little bit and got a little bit closer to that 5-year average. A couple of reasons for this was we had a couple laggards in the planting progress.
Yeah, Minnesota came in at 11% versus a typical 12%, and Iowa coming in at 9% versus 16%. So those are the only two that actually reported laggards. Why is that?
A couple reasons for that. They had some rains last week that kept them out of the fields and didn't allow them to move as fastly as they would have liked to in Iowa and Minnesota. But the second reason is a lot of the producers I was talking to in those areas were actually waiting for their insurance dates to pass, which was on April 11th, April 12th time period. So they were waiting for that to pass before they actually got in the fields. They were in no hurry to get this done. But I anticipate, once we do get some dry weather, they will roll pretty quickly and will probably meet and exceed their 5-year average.
So large producers, they should just be able to roll right up, catch right up to the 5-year average. Also another thing that we were seeing in the crop progress was the wheat conditions. Can you go over that? Will that affect the market this morning at all?
I don't think it's going to affect the market. I think most of this information is already baked in. But if you take a look at where we are staying on the good to excellent ratings for 2011, you can see the orange and green here is the good to excellent ratings for last year. We were sitting at about 35%. Compared to this year, we're sitting at about 63% on the good to excellent ratings. And if you consider and add in the fair ratings, this year we're at about 90% for all 3 categories, and last year we were only at about 60% for all 3 categories. So the crop is looking much better than we were last year.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Hey, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we're back, we're going to watch the market live in Chicago.
Well, it's definitely earned me more money. Just like Decatur, they were paying 70 cents more for summer corn there in August. We were hauling corn 100 mile for 40 cents, and we're making 30 cents, and I wouldn't even known that price was probably on there. I wouldn't have thought of calling Decatur, but when you go to the Grower's Edge page, then it takes all that running around out of it for you.
Welcome back to GrainTV. The markets are open in Chicago, so let's turn over the Fire Tip trading software for the live quotes. Old crop corn is up 5 1/4 cents. New crop is up 3 3/4. Soybeans the leader to the upside once again, up 12 3/4 cents. Chicago wheat up 10 1/4, and Kansas City wheat up 10 cents as well. Cody, earlier in the show we talked about some fundamentals for the winter wheat crop. Let's turn our attention to the technical landscape for that Chicago contract.
Yeah, well, we are looking at Chicago wheat. We're looking at the July contract, and we're also looking at a candlestick daily chart. So each one of these candles represents 1 day worth of price activity. You can see here today we did trade up around 647, and now we're trading at 642. One thing to note here is that we are in a downtrend. If you look back over a period of time, that we are in a well-established downtrend with lower lows and lower highs. I think here in the last week we tested that 613. That was a major support level, and we didn't necessarily expect that to break last week. But I do think that there's a good chance that we continue this downtrend. I think one thing that you guys should be focusing on here is a resistance level right around this 645, 650 level. I think that this technical bounce will meet some selling resistance up there, and there's a good chance we could then return to that 613 lows to test that support level once again.
And the fundamentals will really provide some resistance to the upside as well. We saw the good to excellent ratings come out. They continue to be very strong, 63% good to excellent this year. Last year we were sitting at 35% good to excellent, so quite a different story from last year during this time period. That'll about wrap it up here for GrainTV. Check us out on Facebook. Get a hold of us on 877-472-4607, or follow us on Twitter @GrainTV is where you can find us.